Growing up, I always had this expectation that the adult professional world was, well, professional. You know, everyone's wearing slacks and a nice dress shirt, maybe even a suit and tie, depending on the job. And you got your nice polished shoes, and nobody bullies each other. Everybody's polite, and everybody just shows each other a basic level of respect. And I don't know. Obviously, if you've ever worked in an office, you know it's not actually like that. But I just had this misconception that bullying and just being treated unfairly in general, for some reason, I just assumed all that stopped once you got out of high school and got into the professional world. I guess I thought adults were more mature or something, but I was wrong. But it's not even other coworkers that are the biggest perpetrators of all this unprofessional behavior, I guess you could say. At least not in my experience. The most unprofessional part of so called professional jobs is how us lowly workers get treated by the higher ups. I remember one job I had back when I was in college, and this was a temp job, so I was only there for like 3 months. And actually, now that I think about it, even from the start, they were treating me in a very unprofessional manner. Because the way I even got the job in the first place, it was advertised as an engineering internship. Then when I showed up to the interview, the guy was like, actually, it's not engineering at all. It's just a temp job for college students. And what it actually was working maintenance in a factory. So right off the bat, they were lying in the job posting. And the guy that interviewed me just came right out with it like it's no big deal. He was just like, yeah, well, we like to get engineering students if we can. They tend to be better workers. But whatever, I took the job, and it actually paid pretty good, even compared to actual internships in my field. It was like $18 an hour, which doesn't sound like much now, but back in like 2015 or whenever this was, wasn't too bad. But yeah, it was like at every step of the way, this company was just trying to screw the workers over. So one thing was, you had to clock in and clock out every day by putting your hand on this fingerprint reader thing. And I don't even know how this is legal, but it only recorded time in 15-minute increments. So if you were 1 minute late, you would miss out on 15 minutes of pay. And they would let you work as much overtime as you wanted, and you could always stay and continue working after your shift if you wanted, but the way the timekeeping worked, it always rounded in their favor. So if you were 1 minute late to work and you wanted to make up that time by staying late, you would have to stay an extra 15 minutes. So if you were supposed to start at 6 a.m., but you clocked in at 6:01 a.m., it would record you as having clocked in at 6:15. And say you're supposed to get off at 3 p.m., well, if I clocked out at 3:14, I wouldn't get paid for an extra 14 minutes because it would record me as having clocked out at 3 o'clock. And like I said, I don't know how the hell that's even legal, but I assume it must be since they were doing it. So yeah, of course, I found that out the hard way. In my first couple of weeks there was like 3 times where I clocked out at like 2:58 or 2:59, and I get my first paycheck and it showed me not having worked a full 40 hours, and then I had to complain about it before someone finally explained to me how the damn clock worked. And by the way, the reason why I thought I could leave a minute or two early on those days is because I had clocked in a little bit early on those days. And on those days where I did clock in early, I did start working as soon as I got there. And nobody ever thought to stop me and tell me how the time clock worked. Then the other thing that happened at that job, when I first started, so they told me they would reimburse me 50% the cost of any steel toe boots I wanted to buy. Because you had to wear steel toe boots at this job. So I went out and I bought a fairly nice pair of boots. I don't remember what exactly they were, but they were over $100. So my first day of work, I took the receipt for the boots up to the office, and they told me to just hang on to it and they'll reimburse me after the job ends, which was like 3 months later. And I guess I understand why they might want to do the reimbursement after the job instead of at the beginning, so they don't end up paying for my boots if I quit in the middle of my first day. But I mean, Can they not keep up with the receipt? Like, it's a company with like 10 workers in the office and they got computers and stuff, you know? Can they not just like take the receipt and photocopy it and save a digital copy somewhere? Because this is something they do for every employee, like all 100 employees or whatever it was. I think it was about 100. They're all entitled to have 50% of the cost of a pair of boots reimbursed every single year. Is it too much to ask that they keep a folder somewhere on a computer with copies of all the receipts? You know, so they can try to make sure they don't accidentally forget to reimburse someone? How hard is that? Well, the truth is, they didn't want to reimburse me or anyone else if they could get away with it. That is what I honestly believe. They want to have the policy in place so they can look like they care. You know, oh, we're such an employee-oriented company, we'll help you pay for your boots. Unless you accidentally lose your receipt over the course of the next several months you have to wait after buying the boots before we reimburse you. And don't even think about bringing the receipt early while it's still fresh on your mind. What do you expect us to do with that? Keep a copy of it on file? No, sir. We do not have 30 kilobytes of space to spare in our computer systems. You're just going to have to hang on to that yourself and remember to bring it up again 3 months from now. And don't expect anyone to remind you either. That's your responsibility. So then when I got to my last week on the job, early in the week, like on Tuesday, when my last day was Friday, I bring the receipt and I take it up to the office, and the guy I'm supposed to bring it to, he's not there. And I hardly ever saw any of the office workers at this place because they mostly just didn't really go out into the factory ever. And I was always in the factory, so I didn't even know who anyone was and what their jobs were. So I asked some random lady where the guy was, and she says he's on vacation. So then I asked what I should do about getting reimbursed for my boots, like, who do I give this receipt to? And she acted like she's never heard of such a thing in her entire life. So basically, this shit escalated all the way up the chain to the top dog, the general manager of the whole factory. And he was just like, oh, well, that guy will be back Friday, so just give it to him then, and then we'll reimburse you. And I don't know why the hell nobody there could just take the damn receipt and write me a check. Like, is it really just the one guy in the whole company that handles reimbursements for boots? You know, none of this shit makes any sense. All of my BS alarms were going off. And the whole thing, like going all the way back to the start, it just felt like they were giving me the runaround the entire time. I guess so they could avoid paying me the $60 or whatever it was they owed me. But yeah, and that's not even the whole story. So Friday rolls around, and I bring in the receipt again, because at this point, you know, I was pissed. I wasn't forgetting the damn receipt. I was ready to hold someone at point for my reimbursement. I paid good money for those 2 boots, god damn it. And one of them was supposed to be free. You know, 50% reimbursement. Any boots I wanted. That's what they said. So Friday rolls around, and first thing in the morning, soon as I had a chance, I go up to the office with my receipt in hand. And guess what? The guy was not there. So I asked, and somebody told me he just wasn't there yet. Like, oh, he doesn't get in till 8 o'clock. Okay, so, you know, okay, sure, that's fine. That makes sense. It was early because I went in there like first thing in the morning. So fast forward to my first break, which was, I think, around 9 a.m., I tried to call this guy's extension from one of the phones they have out on the factory floor, and it just kept going to voicemail. So I walked back up to the office, again, my receipt in hand, you know, not even in my pocket. I'm holding the damn receipt out in my hand so everyone can see it. And what do you know? I walk up back to the office with my receipt. He's still not there. So again, I asked someone, and they said, he'd be in later. So at this point, I was getting really pissed. And, you know, I'm like, look, I have to get reimbursed for these boots. Today is my last day here. I'm never coming back here. Is there anybody here that can take this receipt for me and get the process started? You know, do what you have to do. I have the receipt. Reimburse me. And the lady I was talking to, she was just like, no, you need to talk to that guy about that. He'll be in after lunch. Okay, so at this point, I'm convinced they are trying to just not reimburse me for the boots. And I know that seems completely ridiculous, but I mean, nothing I was being told made any sense. Like, for one thing, why couldn't anyone just take the receipt from me and give it to the guy later? You know, why does everyone keep insisting I have to wait for him and then personally hand him the receipt? None of it made any sense. And this was supposed to be a real job, you know? These people are supposed to be adult professionals. But nobody seemed to know what the hell was going on. And nobody was trying to help me. Everybody just, at every step of the way, everyone's just being dismissive of me like, wait, so you're telling me this guy is actually trying to get reimbursed for his boots? What, is he stupid? But whatever, I mean, I'm sure really it was just a bunch of incompetence all the way around, but I'll be damned if they didn't do a real good job of making it look like they just don't want to pay me. So anyways, after lunch, I call the guy's extension again. And again, there was no answer. So then I just tried to call him every 30 minutes or so after that. And you know, finally it gets to 2:30 and I'm supposed to be getting off at 3. So at that point, I just picked up the phone and I just started calling this guy's extension over and over again. And it rang all the way to voicemail like 2 or 3 times, but eventually somebody picked up. And it wasn't him, it was some woman, and it might have been the woman I had talked to in the office earlier, I'm not really sure. But yeah, so this woman answers and she's like, how can I help you? And I told her, I'm trying to get reimbursed for my boots. And she was just like, oh, well, that guy is still on vacation, but he'll be back on Monday. And I was like, no, I'm not waiting till Monday. Today is my last day. And I've been trying to give this receipt to somebody since Tuesday. And this woman on the phone, she actually, and honestly, this is what made me really mad, that somebody would even think to ask something like this. But this lady actually said, she was like, well, do you think you could come drop the receipt off on Monday? And I mean, when I heard that, I was just in disbelief. I mean, every time I think about this, and this was like 10 years ago, by the way, but every time I think about this, I just can't, like, why? Why do I have to physically hand the receipt in person to this one guy? Why can't somebody just take the receipt from me and then give it to that guy later? Why do I have to do it? Like, I don't know what kind of paperwork or whatever needs to be done in order for them to reimburse me for the boots, but surely it can't be something so complex and esoteric that only one guy in the whole damn company knows how to do it. And even if that were the case, again, why can't somebody else just give him the damn receipt? I truly don't understand it. I didn't understand it then, and I still don't understand it now looking back. And seriously, if anyone watching this has any clue why it was like this, please leave me a comment, because fill me in, because I'm still lost. It's a mystery to me. So anyway, she asked me if I could come back Monday to drop the receipt off, and I was just like, no, I can't. Today is my last day of work here, and I don't live close. Because, yeah, my commute to that place was like 45 minutes each way. So, yeah, I didn't live close at all. So she started to say something about, like, well, the guy isn't here today, and he's the one that blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I hung up on her. I hung up on this bitch. Because, yeah, I was pissed. So I just hung up the phone. And then I went straight to the maintenance supervisor, who was like my direct supervisor at this job. And I explained the situation to him. And this guy was actually a pretty cool guy. I liked him. He was he's a good guy to work with. But even he, when I brought this situation to him, even he was like, well, why can't you just drop it off on Monday? And I told him, I was like, I don't live near here. It would take me like an hour and a half of my personal time to drive here and back home just to drop off the receipt to get reimbursed like $60 or something like that, And I've been trying to give someone the receipt for a while now. So my supervisor was like, okay, well, let's see if we can figure something out. And I didn't say this, but I'm just thinking, hey man, I figured something out. You take the fucking receipt and put it in a drawer in your office and then give it to the guy later on Monday. Is that so hard to do? But anyway, I didn't say that. I just thought that. So my supervisor, he walked off and it was already the end of the day, Like I said, I was about to get off work. I was already in the locker room getting changed and cleaning out my locker, because again, it's my last day at this job. Well, I get all my stuff together and I'm ready to leave, other than the fact that I haven't got reimbursed yet. So I left the locker room and I started to head up toward the office again, because at this point I'm thinking, I guess I'll just put the receipt on someone's desk and hope for the best, because, I'm sure as hell not coming back Monday. It's not worth driving all the way back there on Monday. Well, I made it about halfway to the office and I hear someone calling my name. And what do you know? It's the guy. The guy was there. The guy I'm supposed to give the receipt to. He was there calling my name. I thought he was on vacation. But anyway, so he comes up to me and he was wearing like jeans and a t-shirt, by the way. And usually this guy would wear, business casual. So he comes up to me in his everyday street attire and he seemed pretty pissed. He was mad at me, and he was like, I hope you have that receipt for me. I drove all the way out here for this. And I'm just thinking, oh, okay. So you understand how ridiculous it is for someone to drive all the way out here on your day off. Yet that's what everyone wants me to do. Except it's not even an off day for me. They want me to come out here when I don't even work here anymore. But again, I didn't say any of that. That's just what I was thinking. So I just handed him the receipt. And when I handed it to him, he looked at it for a second and then he was just like, okay, anything else? And he said it like that, like, okay, anything else? Like he was pissed at me, as if I was inconveniencing him or something. And damn it, I'm getting pissed right now just thinking about it. I don't even remember what this video was supposed to be about, but whatever. So they did reimburse me on my last paycheck, which I got like 2 or 3 weeks after that. And I always wondered, to this day, I wonder if the other temp workers I worked with that summer, I wonder if any of them had the same experience. Is this how the company really just treats their employees? Are they really just trying not to reimburse people for their boots? Or was this just like some really weird set of circumstances where truly nobody knew what to do except the one guy? It's baffling to me. I really don't know. But either way, what I do know is that nobody in that whole process was anything close to what you would call professional. So no, the professional world is not very professional. Real jobs are not very professional. Whatever.